What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 3. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the MTZ-556. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and right up close and personal, this is a guaranteed 5-shot kill anywhere in the body. However, when you get to that second damage range, now you have to hit the bonus zone, which is very forgiving with this gun, by the way. This includes the entire torso, whether that's upper or lower torso, as well as anywhere in the arms all the way down to the hands. So basically, you just want to avoid shooting them in the legs with this gun, which is pretty easy to do for the most part. And if you do that, this will only drop off to a 6-shot kill, even at the longest ranges. As for headshots, unfortunately, they're not the greatest with this gun. You do require 2 headshots mixed in with those torso shots up close in order to cut that down to a 4-shot kill. And when you factor the recoil in, which we'll look at in a little bit, this is generally not going to be your best bet. As for our rate of fire though, this is the fastest out of the full auto Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles at 833 rounds per minute. And this also gives us a very good time to kill for an assault rifle in this game at 288 milliseconds with that 5-shot kill. This is slightly slower than the SVA-545, assuming you're hitting those first 2 shots with a hyperburst with that. But in general, you should see more consistency with the MTZ since you're not relying on that inconsistent fire rate like you are with the SVA-545. After that, let's get into our ranges, and the MTZ is the worst in the assault rifle category for Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles at least, when it comes to the range department. This gun isn't really designed for longer range use, and the bullet velocity supports that as well. It's 650 meters per second, which isn't a bad bullet velocity. In the vast majority of gunfights on the 6v6 maps, this shouldn't be a problem for you, but this is the lowest bullet velocity out of any of the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles. In many ways, it's actually a little bit more like an SMG assault rifle hybrid, although it does lean more in the direction of being an assault rifle than an SMG, of course. As for hardcore, we have a guaranteed 1-shot kill range anywhere in the body out to about 26 meters or so. Then there's a short range after that where it's still a 1-shot kill as long as you're not hitting them in the legs. And then our 1-shot kill potential to the head will extend just a little bit beyond 40 meters, and anything beyond that is always going to be a 2-shot kill. Now obviously pretty much everything's usable in hardcore, so I'm not saying this gun isn't usable, but it's not really a standout gun for the hardcore mode. Next, when it comes to Hipfire, we actually have a great Hipfire spread. It's the best out of the full auto assault rifles. Now, our standing Hipfire spread is just standard for assault rifles, but it's more so when we're moving. This Hipfire spread is excellent for an assault rifle. And now let's get into our recoil, which is a bit of a downside with this gun. This is one of the harder assault rifles to control, at least out of the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles. Because first off, we often get a very large jump between the first and second shot that you fire, and those are obviously very important shots that you're firing because they come into play every single time you're in a gunfight. And then to top that off, it does kind of zigzag a little bit. It's got a decent amount of that horizontal recoil, which can be a little bit tricky to compensate for in real time. Now, let's move on to our handling stats, and this is where the MTZ really starts to excel. Our aim down sight time is the fastest in the assault rifle category at 220 milliseconds. This is much more along the lines of what you'd see with an SMG, and our sprint to fire time is at least a little bit better than most of the other assault rifles at 189 milliseconds. This is still going to be much slower than your typical SMG though. And then finally for handling, our reload add time is 1.62 seconds. This is right around average for assault rifles and definitely not what I would call a good reload time. And finally, this leaves us with our mobility stats on the MTZ-556. Our base movement speed is above average for assault rifles. Our sprint speed is the fastest in the assault rifle category at 5.8 meters per second. This is very solid. And then finally, our aim walking movement speed, again, it's just a little bit above average for the assault rifles. So there we go. That's going to wrap it up for the base stats of this gun. Now let's move into some great attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And the first one I'm going to share, as I usually do, is my accuracy build. And what I've found with all of my testing with this gun, the best muzzle for you on this is actually the Komodo Heavy. This one really significantly cuts down on your horizontal recoil, especially when you combine it with the F-Tac SP angled grip. That one also helps quite a bit with horizontal recoil. Then the MTZ Marauder stock is incredible for recoil. It's actually a very, very solid choice on this gun, so I highly recommend using that stock if you want to maintain a somewhat accurate build. And then we've also got the Bruin TR24 Assault Rear Grip, combined with my favorite optic, the Mark III reflector. Obviously, if you want to swap that out for a different optic, go for it. But this right here gives you quite a solid, accurate build. It's kind of strange, even though I'm not building heavily for vertical recoil control, this really seems to significantly cut down on that jump between the first and second shot fired. And compared to any other iteration that I tried to make with this setup, this was just the one that felt the best when it came to recoil control. And you can see that in the recoil plot as well. Now, is this the most accurate gun out there? No, absolutely not. You probably still don't want to be challenging people like way across the map or anything. but this absolutely holds its own just fine out to like medium to somewhat medium long ranges. Now, the downsides with this is our aim down sight speed is bumped up a little bit, up to 260 milliseconds. This is still a great aim down sight speed for an assault rifle though, because we're starting off with such a good base aim down sight speed. And then finally, our sprint out time is very slightly slower than the base version of this gun, but it's still better than most of the other assault rifles in the game. So there we go, that's the first build I've got for you guys. However, I also have a nice stealth build that I wanted to share here. This is a good all-arounder, and with this one, we're using that Shadow Strike suppressor, which has no downsides attached to it, the MTZ Para Long Barrel, the XRK Edge BW4 hand grip, the MTZ Aggressor grip, and once again that MTZ Marauder stock. With this particular setup, we have an amazing aim down sight speed at 207 milliseconds. This is very competitive with SMGs. Our sprint out speed is also nicely improved, although still going to be noticeably slower than SMG, so you can't be quite as aggressive in that area compared to an SMG. But we also get a very respectable aim walking speed, so you can strafe corners quite effectively, or you could just strafe back and forth in gunfights as well. And to top all of this off, we still end up with a fairly accurate build. Obviously not quite as accurate as our previous build, but this is noticeably more accurate than the base version of this gun, and you should generally be able to handle any gunfight just fine out to medium ranges. And this just leaves us with one last build I wanted to share for you guys, and this one's going to get into the niche territory. With this gun, since it has a really high fire rate and it's really well suited to more aggressive play, I wanted to create a hip and tack stance build. And with this, we're just stacking really heavy on attachments that help us with hipfire as well as that tack stance spread. So the MTZ Natter Heavy Barrel, the Bruin Bastion Angled Grip, the Bruin Thunder V9 stock, the MTZ Aggressor grip, and then finally the 50-round drum, so we don't have to reload all the time, because we do have a high fire rate, and we're going to be burning through ammo, especially with a build like this. But with this, we are sacrificing some aim down sight speed, but that's okay, because we're going to be using this primarily in tack stance and while hip firing, and in both of those cases, this gun really excels. Even just hip firing, this is quite an accurate gun, but then of course, when you transition into that tack stance, it tightens it up very, very nicely. And I would say out of all the assault rifles, this one is just best suited to this style of a build where you're just going to be running around like a madman, hip firing, using that tack stance. You'll be able to be quite competitive with SMGs while doing this, but obviously you're going to be significantly limiting yourself for those longer range engagements. So this is a niche build, but it is quite a fun niche build to use. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the MTZ-556. As for my thoughts on this gun, while it may not be the most versatile assault rifle out there, it's nowhere near as versatile as something like the Holger or even the MCW. If you're aware of this gun's strengths and you play to those strengths, you should be able to find a ton of success with the MTZ. I really enjoy using this gun if I want to be a bit more on the aggressive side and I'm not playing like a really long range map, or I'm just playing in a way where I'm not taking long range fights. This gun is excellent in those cases. Now, of course, these are just my thoughts on the MTZ, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. And if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes, I've covered most of the assault rifles now. We just got one more Modern Warfare 3 assault rifle to go. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.